Hello, thank you for joining me. This is our sixth video in our series on using solid body parts in assembly design, and we'd like to conclude this. What we have here is our assembly. Our assembly is all done and almost ready to go, but we need to make some modifications for demonstration purposes. We need to make modifications here to show you how easy it is to use the design sketches we have in this part in order to drive this whole design here. So we have a couple things that are wrong. First of all, the end of the boom. There's a little bit of inconsistency between the distance between the boom pieces between boom 1 and 2 is much wider than it is with these other boom pieces between 2 and 3. I think it should be about 1/4 of an inch, so we're going to make a change to that. We're going to make a change in our front sketch for that. We also have an interference issue up here too, with the support for boom 3. It's actually interfering with a horizontal support, so we kind of need to get that fixed. Maybe make that a little bit thinner. We also have a clearance issue up here too, where this top part of the boom is actually interfering with the horizontal piece. What we want to do is move this hole around, maybe using 2 different dimensions for that. Another item up here is this hole up here. It's kind of digging into the top of the piece, kind of hard to manufacture. It's probably something we don't want to have there, so we're going to go ahead and move that out of the way. So let's do this. Let's open up one of our parts, and autosave, nope. We want to get the regular part out here, and we're going to make modifications to this. So we're not only making modification to this part within this configuration, but we're actually making modifications to the right sketch which defines all the parts in our assembly so far. So one-stop shopping. We're going to go to the right sketch, right click on that. We're going to make some modifications here. We're going to make this instead of 4, we're going to make that 6. So that mounting hole for the pneumatic cylinder, or for the hydraulic cylinder, between this hole and that hole where the cylinder is going to go, we're going to pull that down a little bit. This hole up here, let's go ahead and rebuild this and take a look at that, because I don't think that was quite right. I was looking at that. I think if we had that hole a little bit more centered in here, that would be good. And one thing to note here too, you notice that we have a fillet in here that's not really reflected into the right sketch, which is okay. What we do is we put that fillet in as a feature. And when you do something like that, you want to make sure you incorporate that into the right folder. So right down here I have a cut extrude 3, and just for demonstration I have that out here. I'm going to go ahead and incorporate that into here, but this is that fillet over here, and what I wanted to do is make sure that that fillet was here before the shell. Otherwise you get this weird geometry where part of the shell is kind of poking through where the fillet is. So we put that in here. I didn't really rename it, but to be consistent about it, I probably could have renamed it. But one thing I did down here is just to show you the method over here is this cut extrude 3 down here. If I were to unsuppress that, I can also incorporate that into the folder so that it appears only in this configuration of this part. So the way you do that is just expand the folder and stick it in, put it in the bottom would be an appropriate place. And what that does is it provides a cut in here so that when the structure for the boom 3 comes in play there, that there isn't a whole lot of interference. So that's the way you do that, but you want to make sure that when you're making these small model modifications specific to the configuration, that you incorporate that into the folder here too, so it could be suppressed and unsuppressed as needed. So double check that. Let's go to our configuration manager, let's go to the complete configuration and make sure that those features are still incorporated there. And it looks like they are, so good. I like it. So let's go back to our right sketch. Let's go to our horizontal support again. And go to our right sketch and make some additional modifications over here. You notice that we noted that there was some interference over here with this hole. I think if we made that hole a little bit deeper into the model and maybe a little bit closer to the edge, we'd probably get rid of a little bit of interference. So that might work out. We're going to go ahead and rebuild that. And let's go to the front sketch. There's some edits we need to make to the front sketch. So the boom had a little bit too much of a distance between the two. I think to be consistent, we probably should make that 6 instead of 5. So I'll make that 6. Then the horizontal support for boom 3. Instead of making that 7, we're going to make that 5. So remember, we used a feature when we did our feature. We used up to vertex in both of these, and we clicked on either one or the other vertex here in order to provide that the finishing of that feature. So if we were to go ahead and rebuild that, that model looks like it's in pretty good shape. This hole isn't in the right location, so again, let's go back to the right sketch and make that modification. I think if we made that 3.5 or 4 inches, I think that would work. Let's rebuild that and take a look at that, see if that looks good. Perfect, right in the right location. Alright, Control Tab takes us back to the assembly model. And yeah, it fixed all that, updated everything, so all the configurations, or parts within parts of this model have all been updated. It looks like we're in pretty good shape. Again, one of the beauties of doing this solid body modeling using design sketches is that you have the ability to go into the generalized model geometry and the design sketches and make these changes, and it reflects to all the parts, or all the subparts or parts within parts, the configurations of this part within the assembly. It makes all those changes for that. So, in conclusion, of course after this you want to create the new assembly, which we did. So things to remember: you got to be organized when you do this. There's 3 elements you need to consider when you're doing all this solid body modeling with the design sketches. Is you need to have a descriptive folder. You need to rename your solid bodies so you can track it a little bit better to something that is also descriptive. And then create new configurations in your configuration manager, suppressing all the appropriate features that don't belong. So create your assemblies taking advantage of shared geometry between the configurations. So create your assembly taking advantage of shared geometry between the configurations. So when you're putting your assembly together, as we did with some of the booms, we made it the right plans of the right planes. What you're doing is you're sharing some of that shared geometry. It's all the same right plane. We're just mating those together, and it makes for a much easier to resolve model when you're talking about the assembly. So that's it. Thank you for joining me. Appreciate you joining me, and join me for other videos. We'll talk to you soon.